Yeah, I'm sorry, like it just didn't work. Like my YouTube freaking told me like I'm not even like online. So what's up everybody? In this stream, we're gonna talk about this thing. Japan disappointed by American men. So you know how foreigners have been disappointing Japan forever, everywhere, somehow. And then this time, Americans disappointed Japan. Let's go everybody. That's another case of like Americans disappointing Japanese people. So I heard about this from a viewer of mine, or like should I say a mod on my channel. Basically this mod messaged me saying like, hey Sora, you gotta actually like watch this and like you gotta talk about this. American men are now disappointing Japanese or like Japan as a country, and I'm like, how does that even like how is it even a thing? Like how are Japanese people even like actually caring about like what Americans even do? You know what I mean? This dimension was like something freaking insane to me, and I just decided to check it out. And then I know some of you guys like know about the video too, but I kind of wanted to cover it myself. I heard it's a joke, like it's a satire at the same time. But either way, I wanted to tackle this myself because again, I'm a Japanese guy that kind of has to whine about everything that's out there. So let's just watch this and let me actually just kind of like talk about the reality of like everything, and then we will whine about it. That's the whole like scheme here.
US and Japan have a deep history and relationship. A Japanese and American couple has been quite common and familiar to us.
By the way, let me talk about this. Do you guys know what Japanese people think about Americans? I want you guys to guess. Like, I know it's freaking like, I know we freaking stopped the video in like 7 seconds already, but do you guys know what Japanese people think about Americans? Do you know, everybody? They think Americans are cool. What? America, yeah, they hate them? No idea. Cool, burger, classy, burger, stupid. Japanese people think Americans are cool, okay? Like, basically, if you say America, Japanese people say like, wow, that's cool. And I'm not even like exaggerating. That's like seriously how it works. If you say the word America, they just go like, wow, that's freaking riz. That's how it is in Japan. So like if you're half Japanese, half like American in Japan, you basically get the most automatic riz. There's no way. Why do you think it's like, why do you think like there's no way though? Why do you think there's like no way Americans are popular in Japan? If you look at like what's happening in Japan, it's kind of obvious that like Americans are popular. But yeah, 100% people think America is the greatest country. Some disagree with that, but a lot of people in Japan automatically think like, wow, America's cool. I want to go to America. I want to study in America. Like, let me tell you, one of the rizziest things you can say in Japan is here. Oh, I studied in America for 3 years. That's like the rizziest thing you can say. Unless it's Okinawa. Yeah, Okinawa's a bit different. Yeah. Okinawa's like a bit different. アメリカ留学してました。What Michi just said, like, oh, アメリカ留学してました, which means, oh, I studied abroad in America. That's like the coolest thing you can say. Once you say it, you win. Like, seriously, you'll get surrounded by like 10,000 people and they will say like, really? Do you speak English? Do you speak English with an American accent? And if you can say, if you can like, successfully say, literally, then congratulations, you'll get surrounded by like 10,000 people again. And I'm actually serious about this, by the way.
Americans did look more attractive. They are well-fed, happy-go-lucky. They had tremendous appeal to young girls.
And this whole thing is like freaking wild, right? Because like if you look at the history, Japan and America were not really friendly to each other. But then like this thing is a thing. And I don't know if you guys like know about this show or not, but there's a show called Charisma Man. Do you guys know about it, by the way? Charisma Man. Do you guys know what that is? I want to know about this. Charisma Man. No? It's a very famous show. It's like cartoon, Charisma Man. It's about a Canadian guy who came to Japan and like he's basically a nerd, right? So like Charisma Man's like basically a nerd in Canada or something. But then he comes to Japan and he suddenly gets treated like a god basically. That's like the whole story. And if you guys don't know about it, it's freaking fire. Like I really want you guys to check it out too. But that's basically like what happened in Japan. Like there's like a lot of like people who come to Japan and they get the automatic riz. Like I've been talking about this dude, but I used to have like this American friend. Let's just call him Tyson. Because Tyson came to Japan. Tyson was like the most obvious weeb ever. Like he freaking acted like I speak Japanese. Like he kind of acted like that. Tyson was the most obvious rizless American guy. He came to Japan. He got surrounded by freaking 10 different girls, and like all those girls freaking were like, "Hey Tyson, how's Japan? Do you like Japan?" And the weebiest guy, Tyson, he freaking said like, "Oh, Japan, kakoi desu. I like anime." You know what? That's like the breeziest thing he ever said to girls. So he got surrounded by more girls. You know what happened to him? He actually got a girlfriend or something. Like that's like what I remember. But that's what happened back in university. Again, it's insane actually. Oh man, I need to go to Japan then. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're American, like you really should come to Japan because like simply the dollars are so insanely strong right now too. And again, like Americans are kind of treated well usually in Japan. Like that's what I know from my experience.
Even today, especially Okinawa
Yeah. This thing is like so true and like back in university, I actually saw a lot of girls, but like again, I'm talking about my experience, and I feel like it might be different depending on like which area you're from too. In my experience, like I actually saw a lot of like university girls who freaking said something like, "Oh yeah, like I want to date Americans because like it's probably cool to date an American guy." It was a thing, and it was just so interesting and wild, and I never really said anything about those girls, but that's really a thing. Yeah, unless you like talking to grandpas. What?
has a lot of marriages between Japanese and Americans. And in Japan, tons of content on YouTube, TikTok.
By the way, did you guys know like those channels are freaking blowing up in Japan? Oh, hey, by the way, dude, I gotta talk about this. Seriously, the channels that are blowing up the most right now in Japan are the channels that are run by an American and a Japanese person. Like, it's freaking insane. It doesn't have to be a couple channel or anything. It just has to be, like, there has to be an American guy and a Japanese person, like, on the channel. And the channels, like, freaking blow up. And there are, like, so many channels. Why? Because they talk about the differences between like America and Japan, or Kevin's English whatever channel. Yeah, like you know, they just basically compare like, you know, American culture and like Japanese culture, and they just go like, "Wow, that's so different." Or they talk about like language differences. Those channels are freaking blowing up. I haven't seen any channels that are not doing well in Japan when it's about like, again, like American and a Japanese person. Like, it can be anything. Instant Riz channel, basically. Yeah, like Michi kind of said that too, but KER is like one of the greatest examples here. KER, Kevin's English room, is like what it's called, I think. This guy. So basically, this guy's American, this dude, right? And he's Japanese, and this guy's Japanese. It's basically like three Asians, but this guy's American. This channel is like blowing up because, again, they talk about the differences between America and, you know, Japanese. Kevin's not 100% American. He grew up in America, though. So
Or websites glorify
he sees himself as like American more than like Japanese.
the traits of US men. This article, for instance, saying they have tendencies like these, which is based
Fuck. Yo, Americans out there. You're getting the riz here, yo. Yeah, look at this, yo. Look at this. You are getting the most automatic riz here, and you are winning. You are not losing. But this is so true. Unfortunately, this is like the reality of like what being in Japan as an American guy is like. This is so true. Whatever you do, yeah, you get like those like freaking status, like you get those things automatically. And I can actually guarantee you that Japanese people will think this is how you are in Japan. Especially if you are Japanese. If you are an American guy in Japan, yeah, you are masculine as fuck. Just because you wear a t-shirt when it's like freaking so cold out there. You know what? People will think you are so masculine, and this is so true, and it hurts actually. And funny, this part though, it's not actually like you're not even like funny or anything, but like you kind of are loud if you're American, and Japanese people think it's funny as fork. It's a thing. It's seriously just like that thing. That's just how I see it.
Telling us they
And
would
family-oriented, this part is actually true. Japanese people are kind of like cold-hearted when it comes down to like family situations. You know that from like my experience.
be the opposite of a typical Japanese man. Many Japanese women say that's attractive.
American men in Japanese. Let me talk about this interesting like imagination like Japanese people have, or like expectations Japanese people have for Americans. Yeah, this is like basically what Japanese people think about Americans. But like if you're Americans out there, you know, like this is not the reality. Like you don't really see people like them everywhere. But this is like pretty much what Japanese people think about Americans, because like when Japanese people think of Americans, they instantly think of like Hollywood stars and like other things from like movies. But that's just how it is. But once Japanese people actually visit America, they start seeing, you know, people that are very different from like them. So then they just go like, wait, America's a bit different. What is happening? But, you know, that's just how it is. And I have a friend, a Japanese friend, who wants to go to America to be fashionable. Yeah, you heard it right. You are not on meth. You are not a crackhead, everybody. I literally have a Japanese friend who wants to go to America to be fashionable. Yeah, you got it right. You got it right. That's really a thing. Some people legitimately think America is the country for like a, you know, like all the fashion stuff. Yeah, fashionable. So like if you know how it is, yeah, if you go to LA and stuff, yeah, like you can see some like fashionable people. But I'm not talking about LA here. I'm talking about America, okay? And Japanese people just don't really know the world. That's just, yeah. I guess it depends on, wait, you got it right. It depends on like where you visit. Like if you go to LA, yeah, you actually do see like fashionable people there. That's seriously a thing. But again, America.
ドラマとか結構好きで、ちっちゃい時から友達もそういう子が多くて、憧れの俳優さんアクターとかがいて、でハーフの子を見たいなっていうのがなんかこうあんまそうですね、自然とこう思ってて、
みんなあいいなみたいなアメリカかっこいい。
Even now, we all say Americans seem cool. So it's still a thing. Yeah, like I can actually confirm this, and even Michi can vouch. Like it's seriously a thing. It's like actually a mindset, like mentality, like Japanese people have. Like, oh yeah, you American? You're cool. Wow, are you really from America? Like, can I talk to you in English? Can you be friends with me? Let me talk about something. I'm gonna talk about my personal experience. It's kind of like one of my, you know, private stuff that I cannot really talk about that much, but I'm gonna talk about it here. So, I have like a lot of American friends in Japan too, and I hang out with like those friends sometimes. And the thing is here, I've seen so many cases where my American friends actually got stopped, like randomly on the street by Japanese people, and those Japanese people went like, wait, are you from America? Can I be friends with you? Can I have your number? And they were not hitting on my friends or anything. They legitimately wanted to be friends with them because they just wanted to learn English. That's seriously a thing here. Like, a lot of my American friends feel like they are just English teachers now, even though they don't really do that in Japan, but that's seriously a thing here. Do Japanese people photograph Americans without permission? That was a thing 30, 40 years ago. Not anymore, because like you see Americans everywhere in Tokyo, so they don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, what I wanted to say is seriously, it's a thing. Okay.
言うけど白人さんかっこいいみたいのって私もそれがハリウッドの映画とかに憧れたんで気持ちすごくわかるんですけど今はそれは恥ずかしかったなって思ってるんです。
A lot of people kind of like started realizing in 2025 that like it's not that Americans being an American automatically means you're fashionable, but yeah, it's a thing.
ですね、いろんな方がいらっしゃるから、
Yeah, a lot of people like started noticing that like every American's different and like there are different races in America too. Like 10 years ago, a lot of Japanese people automatically assumed like all the Americans are white people actually. So if you're like let's say an Asian American, people assumed you were not like American. Like that's kind of like what Japanese people thought about different races. Yeah. People are different. Yeah, like Japanese people seriously didn't have like that knowledge before. But now they know. Now they know.
何人がかっこいいっていうのはなんか言語として成り立ってないんですよね。
And some women specifically seek American men. She says this could be a driving factor. And
Decline of masculinity among Japanese men today. Alpha male enough, everybody? Is this all about like being an alpha? Like what's happening in 2025? Like are we lacking alphas here? Dude, the Herbie boys. No, we are talking about like alpha males here. Dude, like we need more alpha males, yo. Like what is happening here? Like where are all the alpha males? Decline of masculinity among Japanese men today. Yeah, let's go. Like we gotta be more masculine. What the fuck is happening? But that is so true. That is so true. Like Japanese guys are more like feminine actually. You can kind of look at me and like vouch. The trend here in Japan is actually all about being kind of feminine because that's more acceptable and like that's what people want now. But yeah, this just makes me freaking giggle.
those women mostly dissatisfied with Japanese men today.
That is true, yeah.
女性がすごく社会進出してるというか、日本人と話をしてもちょっとこう物足りない昔の男性はそんなことなかったんですよね。やっぱり日本人の男性が元気がないというか、そういうところがおそらく影響してるんではないの。
I'm not kind of sure about that though. I really feel like some girls in Japan just go for American just because they like Hollywood movies. Like that's seriously my impression, okay?
日本人だとだからシャイだからなんか最近の人ほんとシャイだと思います。ダメ。愛情表現とかもやっぱりある方がいいですね。
あとはハウの子、やっぱり子供が欲しいっていう方が多かったりとか、アメリカに行ってもいいしっていう。
Like I said, Okinawa has the highest rate of Japanese and American couples. The incident or media report like it.
But let me actually talk about this, everybody. Do you guys know why Okinawa has like a lot of like, you know, American Japanese couples, by the way? It's so obvious, but do you guys know why though, by the way? The military base, yeah. So like there are like so many American military bases like in Okinawa. Yeah, you guys know about that, right? Like so there are like American soldiers everywhere. Like I went to Okinawa on stream and you see so many freaking like soldiers everywhere. So yeah, then you know, like there's like a lot of like English speaking people everywhere because of that too. So like that happens a lot too. Tokyo, I didn't know that, but yeah.
Media report like it surely makes some of the Okinawans distant from the military men. Many of the women there are still open to have relationship with them.
おそらく半分ぐらいはアメリカ人の方と付き合っている。それくらい沖縄では
Really? 50% of the people there, the Japanese people there, date Americans in Okinawa now? Well, are you sure about this? Nah, yeah, I wouldn't say so. I actually don't think so. That's not not true. Yeah, I don't think so. I actually don't think so. Her friends. All right, never mind. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, her friends. Yeah, you're right. Like I kind of thought she was talking about like you know the whole like population, but yeah, right. Yeah, right. Her friends. Yeah, right. Yeah.
普通というかみんな受け入れている。その歴史的にも戦後
It's more like
の
just she's talking about her friends. Yeah.
アメリカ人と結婚し
基地の近くはねそうだよね。
した女性は結構やっぱり戦後の GHQ の占領のことと米軍基地の影響が大きいと、アメリカ人の方に対しては私はいいイメージが結構、日本人の男性とは正反対、その男らしいであったり家族
American man would be more masculine. Yeah, that masculinity, everybody. Yeah, look, let's go, everybody. Yeah, I'm an alpha male. So, you know how the whole internet has been making fun of the alpha male trends. You know what I mean? Like everybody has been kind of making fun of like the whole like alpha male stuff. But you know what? No, this is kind of what we need. We need more alpha. So if you make fun of like the whole alpha thing, you're a beta and you suck. So now we know. Now we know. We suck. You suck. I suck. Everybody sucks. We need more alpha males.
家族家庭を大事にしてくれる、やっぱ日本人男性よりもロマンティックなところがある。私にとっては理想的なイメージを持っていました。実際は期待外れというか、私が付き合ったことのあるアメリカ人
Yeah, all the Americans, you know, Japanese girls usually date are weebs in reality because like that's kind of like how it is. So like there's like this freaking huge like cultural gap I've been seeing. Like I've seen so many like, you know, people in my life, like back in university especially, all the Americans that want to date Japanese girls are all weebs, and like Japanese girls don't know like, you know, what weebs are. So like they just kind of, you know, date those weeby guys and they just go like, wait, what the fuck is happening? They just only talk about anime. But yeah, that's one thing I've been saying, which I think is so hilarious. But again,
はみんな少し合わなかった。文化的に合わないなというふうに感じることが多くて。
do they got weebs in Japan? Do you actually think weebs never come to Japan though? Dude, like weebs come to Japan a lot. Weebs come to Japan and weebs freaking actually try to live in their, you know, dream life. That's so common here.
日本人男性とはそこは悪い意味で違いがあったというか、傲慢なとこがあったり、空気を読んでくれない。
Many of the clients she got are married to American men in Japan and the US and facing hardships about divorce.
日本で結婚したとしても、アメリカの方にも届けを出してるはずなんです。だからアメリカの方でも離婚を成立させないといけない。手続きは大変っておっしゃる方が多い。裁判離婚なので、協議離婚ってあんまりない。裁判所に行かなくてもできる場合もある。でも弁護士さんを通して手続きをしないといけない場合、ケースの方が圧倒的に多い。
そもそもどういった理由でアメリカの方と別れようっていうふうになるん
なんていうのか、相性っていう言葉で片付けていいのかどうかはわからないですけれども、その文化の違いとかも。
Cultural differences are insanely like different. So, like everybody, I really have to say this. If you are like not even Americans out there actually, if you are not Japanese and if you ever want to talk to Japanese people, before learning Japanese as in the Japanese language, I want you guys to like learn about Japanese culture because it's insanely different. You know, like how like so many Americans told me like, so every time I go to America and every time I say like, oh, I don't know anything about America, I gotta learn American culture more. And Americans freaking tell me like, oh, like, you know, we don't really have like an American culture. You can just come to like America and like there are no rules, like you can do whatever. That's not true. That's not true. There are so many bad things. Like there are so many things you cannot do in America either, actually. And Japanese people do those things in America, and like Americans think we are insane. What rules? Like for example, like when you talk to Americans, like this is exactly what I was talking about. Let me actually show it to you. When Japanese people talk to you, they do this. Like they do this, okay? When Americans talk to you, they do this, and it's like more polite this way. It's like polite, like you are paying attention. You're polite this way. That's another mistake too. Japanese people make this mistake, and like Japanese people usually they are rude. They come off like a rude people. And another thing is like Americans are like friendly. Like it's polite to be friendly in America, okay? Like you are supposed to go like, oh yeah, hey, you know, you gotta be let's do that. In Japan, we don't really do it. So instead we just go like, I thank you so much for your offer. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That thing is weird in America, okay? So like we do that, and then like Americans think we are like kind of hostile, right? Because like it's not really like what Americans do. But yeah, so if you ever think like America is a country where like there are no cultures, like no rules or whatever like that, like Japanese people would want to disagree with you because again, like it's just so different. It's so different. Like talking rules and like all the whatever dating things, like especially when it comes down to dating, it's entirely different. I've been saying this too. Like so, for example, in America, dating culture is this: like you just go out, right? You just go out and go out more, and then suddenly you're in a relationship. Like there's like no commitment really. I mean there is, but you don't really say it. Like you don't really do the whole like kokuhaku stuff, like confession whatever thing we have in Japan. In Japan, what happens is here, you don't go out. You basically say like, hey, I like you. Would you be my girlfriend? Would you be my boyfriend? That's the first step. And then you go out and you kind of like see if it works out or not. In America, you don't do it. Like, so that whole thing confuses both Americans and Japanese people, both. And like, there's like this guy, Michi the Mark, he actually went through the whole like insane like differences. Like he actually was so confused about it. Isn't becoming friends the first step? I mean, I've been talking about this story, but when I was back in university, there was this Japanese guy who wanted to date this like Japanese girl, like obviously. And they were not friends with anything. Like this guy literally went up to the girl and he said like, hey, I like you, would you be my girlfriend? And the girl said yes, so they actually started dating. And the funniest part about this is like it didn't work out, so they broke up after a week. But that's so common in Japan. Like you actually see so many Japanese people saying like, oh yeah, I've had like 10 different girlfriends. And then you might think like, well, what the fuck? That's just so insane. But that's just because like that's the culture here in Japan. You just say like, oh, I like you. Hey, would you be my boyfriend? Would you be my girlfriend? And then if they say yes, things happen. But in America, you don't do it. And those like things are just so different. And then now you are just so confused, right? You are so confused. If you are confused, the culture is like that different. So like you will experience something like that everywhere, even in friendships too. Even in friendships, like when you talk to like, you know, your friend's parents, everything is just so different. It's not just only the one thing. Like it's not only just the dating culture. The tipping culture is different. Like everything is different. And Americans out there, you have to like, you cannot assume that everything is the same like in America. It's just entirely different. And I had to actually learn everything in my life, especially when I was like 18 or like 19. No means yes in Japan sometimes. Americans are more about being straightforward, okay? It's polite to actually state your opinions. Like, oh, I think this and you're wrong. It's polite to say it like that. Like, oh, I think it's this and that's wrong. In Japan, that's wrong to say it. Like in America, you have to state your opinions. Like you cannot just like, you know, hide your emotions and stuff. Like you cannot do that. In Japan, no. You have to consider people's feelings. If you don't do it, you suck. So the entire thing is like different. So when a Japanese person talks to an American person, there's like this cultural gap, and they usually like end up like thinking, you know, Japanese people are weird or Americans are weird. As a guy who grew up with like Americans, I have like, you know, different cultures in me, so I can kind of like talk to Americans and Japanese people both, because I can kind of do the whole like code switching thing. But yeah. How about hanging out with Japanese girls without a relationship? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but like if you mean like, oh, how about like hanging out with like just Japanese girls just as friends? They do that too, yeah.
入ってくるとは思うんですけれども、ご主人がアメリカ人と日本の方じゃ分かんないよなってすごく思ったんですよ。
She points out this is often overly emphasized in a Japanese media or TV show, which many women actually believe.
結構やってくださ
Yeah, this is the same thing as like weebs thinking anime is real. But like Japanese people freaking think Hollywood movies are real. So like Japanese people truly believed that like they are, you know, movie characters in real life. That's seriously like what happened. How much coke did you take from America? I've never done any drugs or anything in my entire life, except for weed when I was in Arizona.
るイメージ ありますね。でも
I
ね、
did
人によるですよ、結
ああ、
局は。
そうかな。そうですね。
傾向はあるけれども、
うん
人によるんで、やっぱり全くやらない人もいるし、アメリカの方で日本人的な考えで僕が家庭できてるんだ
I'm the boss in this house. Yeah.
からみたいな。やっぱり女性の方が家事をする量っていうんですか、男性よりは多いっていう。
というか、今考えるとあんまり真剣に取り合わなかったっていうのはありますよね。結局いろんなことがベースのところが違うなっていうのは本当に合わなくて、子供もいるわけで全然やっぱり違うよねっていうことで何回も。
Did you hear it, everybody? Americans and Japanese people are fundamentally different. So you guys cannot be friends with Japanese people. And I'm kind of memeing here, but that's kind of like partially true, I gotta say. Like, when you want to be Japanese, when you want to be friends with like Japanese people, like for example, you actually kind of have to compromise. But that's seriously a thing. That's seriously a thing. That's a thing. Like, okay, you have to learn this, everybody. If you've never left your countries, everybody, like you have to learn this. You have to compromise and you have to learn there are different cultures. It's seriously a thing everywhere, okay? Like, it's seriously a thing. Like, there are so many cases where people come to Japan thinking people are the same everywhere. And then they go like, oh yeah, you have to like, learn how I am and you gotta match with me. Like, I've seen that. But you have to know that people are from different countries, okay? And people have like different cultures. So you have to compromise. That's seriously a thing. I've been saying it's a thing, but like, some people don't seem to understand that's really a thing. So some people just go like, wait, what the fuck? It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing, everybody, okay? Once you come to Japan, like even as a tourist, like you have to learn that Japan has like a different culture. Okay, everybody? You got it? You cannot just go like, oh yeah, Japan, fire, bro. That's it. I mean, I do that too, but.
思い立ったんですけど、もうあまりにも向こうは日本語できないし、日本のことはあんまり知らないし、私ももうギブアップというか。
She also argued our culture teaches almost opposite.
Japanese and Americans have culturally bad chemistry. I can actually vouch this. Japanese and Americans have culturally bad chemistry. That's so true, though. That's so true. That is so true. Okay? That is so true. So like in my case though, I grew up with like so many different people, so I can actually kind of see it from like both perspectives. That is true. Yeah, like if you know how to compromise and if you know how to learn like people are different, then sure. But it's so true. It's so true. Like what? So like, let me explain. Like again, I was like literally saying this. In Japan, politeness is the most important thing, right? You have to be polite, okay? You have to be polite. You have to be kind of quiet. You have to be polite. You have to consider other people's feelings. You cannot just say like, oh, this is what I think. You have to listen to me. You cannot do that. If you do it, you suck. In America, friendliness is like the most important. You have to be vocal. You have to say your opinions. You cannot just be quiet and you can just like not assume people will understand everything about you. You have to state your opinions. If you don't state your opinions and if you are just like shy and quiet, you suck. Those two things are like just opposite, like entirely opposite. First of all, right? So bad chemistry because what sucks in Japan versus what sucks in America are entirely different. So like what sucks in America is exactly what sucks in Japan. No, exactly the opposite of like how it is in Japan, right? American here, I admit that people should not marry Americans. This is why I married a German. Thank you so much for the donation, Kevin Kirk. Thank you so much for that. I'm not saying like marrying an American guy sucks or anything. I'm just kind of saying like it's seriously a thing. Like you have to kind of learn like cultural differences and stuff. But again, you can overcome this thing if you learn to compromise and if you learn to understand that there are different cultures out there. If you learn to actually just go like, oh yeah, right. So like, yeah, it sucks in my country, but maybe I gotta kind of adjust myself. If you have that ability, sure, you can actually do well. But there are like a lot of people out there who just kind of go like, oh yeah, this is me, I cannot change myself, fuck you for trying to change me. If you have that mindset, then it's not gonna work out in any countries. Like, I gotta say this to any people out there, like Japanese people, Americans, or like Filipinos. It's all about like adjusting yourself, right? It's the same for friendships or like relationships or anything. So that's what I have to say.
So wouldn't be a good match in many cases.
でも少なくとも沖縄ではやっぱりアメリカの人と恋愛したり結婚する人は多いんでしょ？
結婚する女性
Okay, let me actually talk about this. Not in America, kindness is performative to capitalize on people's sincerity most of the time. They are good Americans, but very few. So let me actually talk about this too. So the definition of like good Americans might be really different here too. I mean, I know what you mean though. But by the way, I know what you mean. But I just kind of wanted to mention that the definition of a good American is actually kind of different in Japan, because like again, definition of a good person in Japan in general is like somebody who's sort of like quiet-ish. Not really entirely quiet. And I was gonna just talk about the same thing. But I know what you mean. 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 But I just kind of wanted to mention that the definition of a great person in America versus the definition of a great person in Japan, that itself is like so entirely different too. So what you think a great person is in America might not be a great person in Japan. Or vice versa. I just really wanted to mention that, yeah.
も多いんですけど、あと実際離婚してしまう数も結構多い。ここはやっぱり性格的に合わなかったからうまく続かないっていうケースが、アメリカ人男性って聞くと高い理想を持っている。
I understand this completely. So when I talk to people, like I've been saying this by the way, I do this code switching thing super hardcore, okay? I've been saying this, but still people believe like this is how I am everywhere. No, I've been saying this. I do code switching everywhere, even on stream, off stream, when I talk to this person, that person. I do it everywhere because I grew up with non-Japanese people, okay? Like I freaking do that too. In real life, on stream, off stream, when I talk to Japanese people. That so in my case, I can kind of adjust myself well too, but yeah.
ところがあるから、その後で思ってたイメージとは違うっていう風になるケースは多い。最近だと国際カップルの方の SNS とか動画とかそういったものが多いから余計惑わされてしまうことはあると思いますね。やっぱアメリカ人とか欧米の男性に憧れる女性は結構日本人は多いと思うんですけど、やっぱり文化的に近い人。
How come were you hanging out with non-Japanese people? So like it's a long story, but the very beginning of like that whole thing is because I became friends with like this Japanese American dude when I was like 12 or like 11 or something, and he basically introduced me to his friends, and that was like the beginning of everything. And then the whole like, oh yeah, like let me introduce you to this guy, because in Japan though, Japanese people don't do this one thing where they introduce you to other friends. Japanese people don't do this. Like if you hang out with like Japanese people, they never introduce you to their friends. They never do that. They kind of separate their like friend groups. They never do it. But like non-Japanese people, especially Americans, like do this a lot. Like the Americans do like, oh yeah, let me introduce you to my friends. Like he's Jack, bro. He's cool. He's chill, man. They do it. Like especially Americans. Not even Americans. Westerners freaking do this a lot. So like once you become friends with like somebody who's from the West in Japan, it's so easy to, make more friends. Because they do it, they just keep doing that to you. They just go like, oh yeah, he's my friend, bro. Like he's freaking chill. Nah. So then, if you just like, decides to hang out with them, then you just have more and more friends. That's literally how that works. And you can kind of like see it even on my channel too. Like, but why? I don't know, man. Like Japanese people just don't like to do that. Like it's kind of like awkward for Japanese people. Like, let's say, I made these friends back in school, but the friends I made at work, they are entirely different, so I shouldn't really introduce my friends to my coworkers. Like, there's like this mentality. it's like different Discord servers. Yeah, like it's awkward in Japan, so you don't really do it. And if you do it, like you're that one, like you are not an asshole for trying to introduce you to like. It's kind of like it's really difficult to explain, but this here. 友達紹介されて自分の仲いいやつがトイレ行った時の風景地獄すぎる. This is something Japanese people can relate to, but you guys probably wouldn't relate to this a lot though. I mean, you guys might relate to this a lot. But so here, I relate to this as a Japanese guy, like if I got introduced to other Japanese people, but I don't relate to this when I got introduced to like American dudes actually. What does it say? So what it says is like it's so disastrous, like it feels so bad when a great friend of yours goes to the bathroom after introducing you to his friends. Like it's that situation where a guy goes like, hey, this is my friend John, what's up, man? Hey, what's up, John? Oh, by the way, I gotta go to the bathroom. BRB. You guys can just talk to each other. That thing is what I'm talking about. In the West, it's a lot easier. Actually, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier in the West. In Japan, it's insane because you just don't know what to even say in the first place. There's like a keigo, like there's like honorifics, keigo, too. So you don't know what language to even like use in the first place. Yeah. It's awkward for any people. I get it too. But in the West, it's easier. It's so much easier because in the West, you can just go like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, you know, how do you know, like, how did you become friends with Sora? Oh, yeah, like that Sora dude? Yeah, he did this. You can kind of do that. In Japan, you cannot really do it. You just kind of have to show respect first, right? That part is kind of like why it's hard to, like, make friends in Japan, I guess. Yeah. So in the West, for example, I'm gonna talk about America. It's like so much easier because you don't have like that process of like, you know, deciding what language to speak. You don't have like, oh yeah, should I use the polite language or like should I use the casual language? Should I even like ask him what he does? Oh wait, is it rude? I don't want to be rude. That thinking process, you don't really have that. In America, you just go like, oh yeah, bro, what's up, man? That's it, right? But yeah. So it's like so hard in Japan. Thus, Japanese people don't really introduce their friends to like their other friends. Yeah, it's not like that here. I don't know what you mean by here, but in America, it's like so much easier. It's so much easier to like talk to other people. Like, it's so much easier to even talk to strangers in America. By the way, you know how it's even acceptable to talk to some random people in elevators in America? Like saying like, oh yeah, I like your jacket. That thing never happened in Japan. Like actually never happens. Does that shock you now? That thing never happens. So talking to people like that casually is in the first place acceptable. It seriously never happens in Japan. Like talking to strangers in like elevator, dude, that never happens. Like, ask any Japanese people. That's weird. If you just like start talking to random strangers in an elevator, you're weird in Japan. In America, that happens. So, like that whole like basic mindset itself, okay? That whole basic mindset itself is the core difference, right? Like you have to understand that first to know like how it is so much easier to talk to like different people in America. For example, and it's so hard to talk to like some random people in Japan, right? So when you get introduced to like, you know, your friends, then you just go like, what the fuck? It's that. Okay, you get it now? It's just Sora's famous. I'm not famous. Like, it's not that I get noticed everywhere. Like, I'm not really that different from like you guys actually. Like, I'm the same as you guys. Like, I've experienced like the same stuff in America, in Japan too. In America, it's so much easier to talk to people. How do we talk to Japanese people then? I don't know, man. We don't know how to talk to people. We actually don't know how to talk to Japanese people. Like, ask any Japanese people. They usually struggle. Like, actually. They struggle And they just go like, wait, should I use the polite language? Should I use the casual language? That's the first thing we think about. And we struggle. We just go like, I don't know how to talk to like them. Is it rude if I like try to act friendly here? Or should I just be polite? Fuck. They do it. Every Japanese person does it. I do it too, by the way. I do it too. But it's so much easier in America because like there's like no thinking process like that. Yeah. I mean, dude, here, even Michi. We don't even know the right way of like using the word. So like what he means here is like, again, like we don't even know how to actually phrase things in the right way when we talk to Japanese people. Because should we just be friendly or should we be just polite? That thing just, kicks in first, right? And thank you. Protosaurus Rex. The exception to strangers talking to you in Japan is if you have a half Japanese son. So I found out in Giza. Maybe, but the thing is like Japanese people will talk to you if you have a child who's kind of cute. Yeah. Like they just go like, oh, your child is very cute. What's your name? They do it. Yeah. That's the only exception. Other than that, I don't know, man. I kind of am not sure about that. Just agree to use casual language. This thing. Just agree to use casual language. That thing itself can be rude to some Japanese people. So that's kind of why it's hard. Like saying like, hey, can we just use the casual language? That can be rude to some people. So you know what I mean though? So you know the whole process of like talking to people in Japan, like you know what like Japanese people think of? You know how tiring it is now? That thing, some people hate that. So some people just go like, I don't know, man, I cannot do that, bro. Some people say it too. So it's hard. Like it's actually hard sometimes. So sometimes it's easy, but sometimes it's hard. Yeah, タメ語でいいってなんかキモい。Yeah, Michi is like saying that. Yeah, like タメ語でいい. Like, can we just use the casual language? Like, it's awkward. So it's so hard to talk to like people in Japan. And that's kind of why, again, like I feel like it's so much easier to like speak English too, by the way. Like I grew up in Japan, right? I grew up speaking Japanese and English both. But it's so much easier for me to speak English, actually. Because you don't have like that process in English. In Japanese, you do. You just go like, wait, fuck. I don't know like if I should use this language or like that language. 外人なら敬語よくわかんない。そうだね。So like Michi the Mark, this dude probably had the same process when he actually stream sniped me. So he's the guy who's been sniping me a lot in my streams actually. Let me tell you, he definitely had that process. So he likes to speak English to me because it's easier for him to like speak English because like he doesn't have to think about the whole like, oh, should I use the polite language or should I use the casual language? But Sora is like the like multicultural guy, so like it's probably more natural for me to like speak like talk to him in the casual language. But I mean, I don't know, maybe Sora might be stereotypical and like he might want me to talk to him in the polite language. Fuck, he definitely went through that thing. So yeah, he probably just wants to speak English to me because there's like that thing, right? Doesn't Gaijin Pass apply here? Gaijin Pass applies here. So like a lot of Japanese people don't have like that thinking process when they talk to Gaijins, like foreigners. So they just like use the casual language, like, oh yeah, what's up, man? Like, oh, どうしてんのよ? They do that because Japanese people know that Gaijins, foreigners, don't care. So that's kind of why like Gaijin Pass is so strong here. But if you are not a Gaijin, like if you are not a foreigner, if you are Japanese, it's freaking so hard, yo. It's so hard. I'm Japanese myself too, right? I sometimes even freaking pull out my Gaijin Pass, Gaijin card, like my foreign card as a Japanese dude. I freaking sometimes say like, oh, you know what? Like actually, I'm not really entirely Japanese. I freaking sometimes say that to break the ice. Like it's sometimes important. And it works. It really works. Once I say it, Japanese people go like, oh, then like, wait, so like, can you tell me more about like, this culture, that culture? And I just go like, oh yeah. And I can actually speak the casual language, saying like, oh yeah, I'm not really familiar with the Japanese language. They are fine with it somehow. 自己紹介するとき、ちゃんと外国人ですっていう。ああね、重要だと思う。本当に重要だと思う。本当に重要だと思う。Trolling dang. No, it works actually. Line works confirmed. It works. It really works.
人と付き合った方が 長く見たらうまくいくんじゃないかな。
To be fair, some people claim we often use it as an
So the thing is here, a lot of people think I'm American in Japan, not because I speak English. I mean, I speak English, so like, people think I'm American too, because once you speak English in Japan, you're American. There's like that formula too. But a lot of people think I'm American because of like my like outgoingness, or like what should I freaking put it? I usually try to go for like that friendliness over being like polite. So a lot of people like actually think I'm American. You need to lie to your people to talk to them. That's how you see it, right? So that's what I'm saying. Cultural difference is so important because you think that's a lie. In Japan, that's politeness, right? So again, understanding different cultures is so important. Like handling those situations in Japan, it's not really like a lie or anything. It's more about figuring the culture, figuring out like how the culture works. If you think that's a lie, then that's the end for you, right? You really have to like learn like these things, and it's freaking tough. Again, it's really tough. Sometimes it makes you so depressed too. You just go like, what the fuck? It's like almost impossible to like talk to these people, like those people, because the cultures are different, right? 本音とか建前、そう本音と建前もあるしね、そこね。But yeah, if you ever feel like, wait, what the fuck? That's so different. Again, that's what a cultural difference is like. So now you're learning.
An excuse for justifying personal differences. Of course.
Yeah, see, Japanese often use cultural difference as an excuse for their intolerance. I literally was just like talking about this, but like again, the cultures are that different. Like the cultures are that different. Seriously, it's just entirely different. Especially Japan's like a freaking one dimension that's entirely different. But Japanese people usually go well with Koreans. Do you know why? Because the cultures are insanely similar. Insanely similar. So like Koreans don't really think Japanese people are that insane, or Japanese people don't think Koreans are that insane. Like when they talk to each other. But other than that, yeah, they go through like these things.
Cultural difference can be hard, especially for those who haven't been to any other country. But maybe not so huge as much as we worry about it.
例えば70年代の方はやや、クローズだったんですよね。だけども場合によってはよくこう似てる部分が多いですよね。日本人のいろんな心配する。こうすれば
Are things different for foreign Asian? For Asians though, like there are so many things we share in Asian countries, like in China, in Korea, Japan. So Asians kind of like understand each other well. Like that's kind of why you see like Asians hanging out together in America, right? Like there's like that Asian community, right? Because Asians kind of like understand each other. That's definitely a thing. So that's the same in Japan too. Yeah, Asians kind of like understand each other better, so they do it too. But yeah, once you are not from like an Asian country, then it might be hard to actually like, relate to Japanese people because it's that different. It's that different, okay? It's so different. But yeah, again, especially like Japanese people are extremely different too because it's all about like being like, polite. Southeast Asia, they are more Westerners, like in terms of like their culture. They are more about being friendly. Like for example, like Philippines. The Filipinos are more, they can relate to Americans a lot more. So Filipinos have like that problem too. Like once they come to Japan, Filipinos come to Japan and the first thing they notice is here, Japanese people are angry. That's what they feel. Like I hear this from a lot of Filipinos. One Filipino guy literally left a comment the other day, like on stream. Like he felt like Japanese people were mad because like he spoke bad Japanese. Because Japanese people don't smile. Smiling is kind of like what we don't do here in Japan. Because we don't do that. We have to be polite. We just, instead of smiling, we just go like, ありがとうございます. Like we do that thing, right? So, yeah, like a lot of Filipinos come to Japan, they notice like Japanese people don't smile. And then they just go like, wait, are they angry? That's, yeah, like what happens. But again, Filipinos relate to Americans more. So like Filipinos are more like Westerners actually. That's my impression. But yeah. no one gets as mad about someone speaking their language incorrectly than the French. Like, I've been kind of saying this, nobody cares about your bad Japanese in Japan, because like in Japan, everybody assumes you don't speak Japanese, right? Everybody literally assumes you don't speak Japanese once you speak English or once you look non-Japanese. So, Sky Master, thank you. So in 2025, could you go to Japanese communities around the world in Brazil? I cannot, because that's a lot of money. I cannot do it because, so let me tell you, so if I wanted to go to one country, that automatically means I have to spend like $3,000 or like $2,000 at least. And I don't know, man. I just went to America. It was insane. It was insane. I went to America and then like that's like $3,000, $2,000. I don't know if I really want to do it like that much. So I cannot really do it. I kind of have to focus on like being in Japan really. So, but yeah, thank you so much for the donation either way. Like if I wanted to do it though, I have to be extremely rich for me to do it. And I don't know if I'm like that rich enough for me to do it too. Yeah, Vegas too. But I went to Vegas, but I was not in the strip mostly. I was like outside of the strip, which is like a lot cheaper suddenly actually. Like, you know, things were a lot cheaper than I expected. But either way, that's just how things are. Like traveling costs a lot of money. Like it really costs a lot of money. So I really have to do like everything in Japan because like it's a lot more affordable. Like flying tickets themselves are insane, right? And there's like hotels and stuff too. So, but yeah. And thank you, Paul. It's such a nightmare whether to use polite language or casual in Poland because people might get offended if you use incorrect one. It's like the same thing. Yeah, the same thing is like it's the same thing in Japan too. Like you have to figure out which one is like the right one to use. And usually people use the polite language. It's freaking hilarious when Japanese adults use the polite language to kids. Like they freaking just do that too because they want to be right. They don't want to be wrong. You know what I mean? I do that too actually. So. But yeah, anyways, yeah. What are Japan's thoughts on the Portuguese? If you're a foreigner in Japan, you're a foreigner. Like Japanese people don't really understand that people are from different countries actually. Japanese people automatically assume that every foreigner speaks English. That's one thing. And if you look like a Westerner, if you look Western, then people assume you're American. That's one of the things too. One thing that surprised me when I was like 17 was here. When I talked to like my foreign friends, I felt like my foreign friends pretty much know everything about each country. Like that was my impression. So I was like, wow, like my foreign friends are freaking so smart. But it's more that like if you are not from Japan, if you're from like let's say Europe, like any Western countries, you kind of are exposed to different cultures and different countries too. So you know about like every country kind of. And you have like friends from like every country too. Japan's not like that. Japan is a country where everything is like Japanese. Everybody's Japanese. So we don't really know a lot of like differences between like let's say even like America and Australia actually. Some people cannot even like actually talk about differences in Japan. Because again, in Japan it's either like foreigners or not foreigners, right? That's just how it is. So like some people can talk about their impression on each country, actually. Some people can do that in Japan too. But mostly though, they don't really have any opinions. Yeah. Like it's either like foreigners or not foreigners. Do other Asians count as foreigners? Yes. But depends on like whether you speak Japanese or not. If you speak Japanese, you become Japanese. So Japan has like the most interesting mindset. I mean, it's the same in any Asian countries too. Like it's like, you know how a lot of like, so you know what though, let me actually talk about this. A lot of like black people like showed up on my channel and they asked me like, hey, are black people treated well in Japan? Like are Japanese people hostile towards like black people? Let me say this to you. It doesn't matter what race you are. It's more about whether you're a foreigner or not. Like Japanese people are kind of like that. It's not like you're black or you're not black. It's more like, are you a foreigner or not a foreigner? Japanese people don't really see any differences between like all the different races. But Japanese people see the most hardcore difference between a foreigner and a not a foreigner. Like, that's really it. So there's like this equal right, I guess, but it's kind of not equal at the same time because there's like this freaking biggest boundary between Japanese people or not Japanese people, right? So that's really it. Literally all Asians, yeah. So like, I don't know if you like it or not. If you like it, then that's whatever. Because you're not gonna be judged based on your race, but you're gonna be judged based on your foreignerness. That's really it. And I don't know if you like it or not. If you like the fact how your race doesn't matter, but your like nationality matters, maybe Japan might work better. But if you just don't like being a foreigner, then yeah, I mean, you're not gonna really like it here. If someone is a Korean, Korean is a foreigner too, yes. But if a Korean dude speaks like good Japanese, then he becomes Japanese, yes. But yeah, that too. Various stories about people in Japan pretending to not understand foreigners even when they speak Japanese. That's BS. That's BS. That's definitely BS. I mean, I've been hanging out with my foreign friends, and my foreign friends speak Japanese, and like they've ordered like their own food and stuff in Japanese. I mean, people listen to them. Yeah, that's definitely BS. That's kind of like a meme on the internet, which I don't really think is true. So, Black Samurai in Shadows. I don't know if any Japanese people care about that. Maybe they do. I don't really care.
日本の文化をじゃあどんなことを言いましてもその例外もあるわけでしょ一つの民族がみんなこうだということ
I don't really care about what Japanese people think about my dark skin. I just want to learn your language and respect your culture. So you got the right mindset here, actually, J-Man. So like your mindset is like the most proper mindset to like be in Japan. So you have the mindset of like, oh, you know what? Like I don't care about what you think. I want to be respectful. You will be accepted, by the way. So I'm sure like you haven't been to Japan. That's kind of what I think. You'll be accepted and you'll be fine in Japan because you now actually know that you are a foreigner. Like you have like that mentality. Like, oh yeah, I'm different. I'm not going to be Japanese, but I will do what I can. If you have like that mentality, like 100% of the time, you'll be accepted. I've seen a lot of like foreigners in Japan, and I've seen a lot of like foreigners that are doing well in Japan. Every single of them has the same mindset like that. Like, oh yeah, I'm a foreigner in Japan. Like they try not to be Japanese. Like they just go like, I'm a foreigner. I'm different. Like they have that mentality. If you have like this mentality where you try to fit in Japan, like, oh yeah, I want to be the same as like other Japanese people, you'll have a hard time here, yo, because you're not going to be the same. But yeah, but J-Man, you have the right mentality. Like, oh, my dark skin, I don't care about what Japanese people think. I just want to be respectful. That means, again, like, you know you're different, but you're fine with that, and you just want to do whatever you want to do in Japan. Then, yeah, I guarantee you, you'll be 100% fine, yeah.
も言いませんから文化というのはあまり大きくしない方がいいですよ。人間は人間ですよね。
You know, for Americans, I think like we speak...
Actually, let me talk about this too. What about gender identity? I mean, kind of obvious. T-girl. I don't mind that it's obvious. So let me actually talk about this too. The whole like gender identity or like gay, whatever, not gay. Japanese people don't really care. Japanese people like literally don't care who you are as long as you don't cause problems. Let me just talk about this first. I've been talking about this in every stream. They don't care who you are, what you like, what you do, if you don't cause problems. Like that's the Japanese mentality. Like you can do the most obnoxious thing possible if you are not causing problems. Japanese people even they don't say anything. Like actually. So the gay problem is like something I talk about a lot too. So being gay, right? So like a lot of people like asking me like, hey, I'm gay. Like would I get assaulted in Japan? No. Because Japanese people don't care. Like if you were just like doing it to yourself and if you're not like going like, bro, I'm gay, bro, I'm gay. Nobody cares. That's the same for like gender identity or like who you are and stuff. Like if you are not being obnoxious with it, nobody cares. Like Japanese people don't go up to you and say like, yo, you are this, you suck. They don't do that. So one thing that really surprised me about like Americans here, some Americans actually go up to you and say like, why are you like this? You gotta stop doing that, bro. That's a thing. Like in America, there's like this mentality where they feel like they have to say whatever they think of, right? And they want to tell people like, oh, you're wrong. That's a thing. Like, why are you being gay? Like, that's bad, yo. That's something you might hear sometimes. I don't think you hear a lot though in America anymore because again, like it's 2025. But you might hear that. In Japan, I don't think you hear that though. Because like people don't care about who you are. Like, if you are still curious like about what I mean, go to my like past streams. I've done like unhinged stuff on stream everywhere where I just like run around in Tokyo screaming Rasengan anime. I like this and that. Nobody cares because I'm just being cringy by myself. And Japanese people don't care. Japanese people might stop me if I'm like actually causing problems. Something like, you know, punching people, destroying things, right? So what I have to say here, you shouldn't literally care about what people think about you in Japan. Like, you should just actually get rid of like that thought. So you can wear literally a skirt in Japan, nobody cares. And I have a proof here. I did a stream where I dressed as a girl while speaking as a guy. Like I used my guy voice, but I was like wearing all the girl clothes and I was wearing like a girl wig too. Yeah. And then nobody cared actually. You know what? Do you guys want to see the proof? Let me just get the proof here. Here. This is the proof. Japanese people react to me dropping my wig in public. They don't care. This is the most extreme like proof of like how they don't care, okay? Like they literally don't care. So this is just me like wearing a wig and like skirt and whatever and going outside and dropping my wig randomly. They don't care. They give no reactions. Like here, right? I guess for so there's a person there. So I dropped my wig intentionally like this, right? They don't care. They don't say anything in Japan. In America, like they might say like, "What the fuck?" They don't say anything because you are not causing trouble. You are being obnoxious by yourself. They might have opinions, but they're not gonna say anything to you. And I did that at a hat store, like this place, when I was like talking to like one of the people that works there. Like here, look at this. So this is me talking to a lady that works at a hat store, right? And I'm like using my guy voice and stuff too. But yeah, just watch this, okay? I'm gonna freaking take off mine now. Take off mine. You know how she acted like nothing even happened? She just said like, you surprised me. But that's it. Like they are not gonna say anything. Because again, in Japan, as long as like you are doing whatever you wanna do, and if you're not causing problems, they don't care. Like you can literally, you know, finger your ass at home while watching Justin Bieber. Nobody cares. That's normal respect. That's what I'm saying. Like Japanese people don't say anything to you, like literally. But that's what I'm saying, because like a lot of people assume like a lot of people are curious as to what Japanese people think about you or them, or you know what I mean. That thing you don't even have to think about in Japan because nobody cares about who you are. So that's oddly specific, but that's kind of like what I have to say though. Like if you ever are curious, like, hey, what do Japanese people think about Filipinos? What do Japanese people think about this and that? And nobody cares. Like they're not gonna freaking come up to you and say like you suck. I mean, they might have opinions actually, but they're not gonna tell you anything. Well, they're not gonna assault you. They're not gonna suddenly just go like, oh, this. But you'll be a foreigner. That's just a fact. So, anyways.
Loudly. But I think there's a lot of similarities too. You know, sometimes, you know, people just
here actually I was wondering why they care what people say. So Jesse, let me tell you. Why do they care about what people say? Because in some countries they have to. because they can actually get assaulted for who they are in some countries. Like, I'm not gonna say who, like what country it is one time, but being different means you suck, so you can get assaulted in some countries. Yeah, that's kind of like a unfortunate thing, but I keep hearing those stories where people getting assaulted for being different. Yeah, I'm not gonna say which country it is one time. So they ask me like, hey, is it fine in Japan? And then I usually say like, yeah, it's fine in Japan. Nobody cares. You don't get assaulted in Japan. So that's why they are curious, like if, you know, Japanese people think badly about some certain people and stuff. It happens in New York. Yeah, like it happens in some places in America too. But in Japan, you don't get assaulted. So like you don't get assaulted for being different. You don't get assaulted for like having a, you know, stick in your ass and walking. Like people just think you're weird. And people might laugh at you, but they're not gonna say anything to you. So
just assume you can't communicate. It's frustrating.
But one thing most Americans I talk to say is that we often distinguish someone by the nationality, unlike.
Yeah, exactly what I was talking about. My nationality. No, it's more like by, yeah, like, so I was literally talking about this. Are you Japanese or are you not Japanese? I was literally talking about this, right? Like, if you are not Japanese, you're not Japanese. That's it, right? In the US, yeah, I guess this is true. Like Asian community, like white community, that thing. Xenophobia, yeah, you can say that actually. Xenophobia is still kind of there. It's kind of like not that hardcore anymore, but I kind of want to say it's still there-ish. From like, you might get stared at in Japan, not in Tokyo anymore. In Tokyo, nobody stares at you because everybody's a foreigner. You know how everybody's an American in Shibuya, by the way? Nobody stares at you anymore in Shibuya. And thank you, Chef, for this. My visit to JP part of Georgia brain froze a lot of Japanese people there when I walked around in my seifuku blazer uniform made me blend in. Thank you so much for the donation. That's freaking hilarious. But thank you so much for the donation either way. But so, if you think you'll get stared at in Japan, no. Not anymore. In Tokyo. In Tokyo at least, nobody cares because everybody's a foreigner now. In Chiba, you do stand out. You do stand out in Chiba. But it's not really like people will stare at you anymore. Even in Chiba. Chiba's like my hometown actually. Is Shibuya bad? I don't think it's bad, but it's New York. It's New York now. It's basically Americans are like just drinking and getting drunk at night. It has changed. Shibuya is now different. Shibuya was kind of like a place for young people, and you used to see like a lot of like young people like skating and like, you know, just doing whatever stuff on the streets. Now, no, it's just foreigners going to bars and traveling, which is not a bad thing, by the way. I'm not whining. I'm not whining, but it's just different. So people are just so used to seeing like foreigners in Shibuya, or even in Tokyo now. And Shibuya was a hangout spot. Yeah, it was really. It was like a hangout spot for young people. It was a town for like young people. Like there were so many young kids, high schoolers just hanging out, like, you know, skating and stuff. Not anymore, really. Like they kind of disappeared now. So.
In the States, which kind of makes sense as we don't recognize dual nationality yet, but still certain
that's true.
Type of stereotypes might be coming from your race or ethnicity, and she claims both bad and good stereotypes should be diminished.
They in Ikebukuro or something? They are not in Ikebukuro anymore. They are not anywhere. Like young people hanging out in Tokyo is like not really something you see a lot anymore. You still see those like young people, but they kind of are not really there. I'm talking about like, I'm just, you know, comparing my experiences like from 2005 to like now, kind of, so.
やっぱり人種ですね。うちの教室とかも、日本人じゃないんだなって思ったりすると、英語喋るとみんな思い込んじゃうので、でも結構ハーフちゃんで英語喋れない子もとにかくその。
Where do you think they are? Where do you think they are now? They are? They are at home watching VTubers and anime, and I'm not trolling. I'm serious, by the way. They sit at home streaming on Twitch. See, even Raffles said the same thing. I'm serious. They don't go outside anymore, and they just watch VTubers. Like seriously, it's seriously like what's happening. like this is off topic, but Japanese people decided to date VTubers and like date anime girls a lot more, so they don't go outside anymore. Like there's like this thing called version rate. Japan has like the highest version rate. It's because again, Japanese people are just like that, right? Too busy working. I don't really think Japanese people in 2025 work that much, by the way. They work a lot less now. You can actually look up some data now. Japanese people in 2025, especially young people, they don't work that much anymore. So, yeah. And thank you, Oliver. Hey, Sora, I'm planning on visiting Japan this year, and I was wondering where in Tokyo or Osaka I could go. So let me actually talk about it here. I'd greatly appreciate it. So, where in Japan? Osaka or Tokyo, you said, right? And now, my impressions here. You don't know how small Japan is. That's my impression. Like, you kind of think Japan's like freaking huge, so you don't know where to visit in Tokyo, right? It's possible to just kind of like go to all the major spots in Tokyo. So let me show you what I mean. This is something I've been kind of talking about in my membership streams too, but here. So this is Japan, right? This is Japan. And Japan is pretty much almost the same size as California. This thing right here. This is almost the same as Japan. Almost. I mean, it's still like different, right? But it's almost the same. And then here. Now you are saying Tokyo. Tokyo is this tiny. This part. And you were thinking about this specific area. It's this tiny. It's kind of possible to visit everywhere if you wanted to. If you were saying like, hey, where should I visit in Japan? Then that's a different question. But if you were saying like, where should I visit in Tokyo? I mean, you'll probably just go to like all the major spots. Like that's out there. So you can do that too. And then Osaka, that's the same too. Osaka is this tiny, actually. So you can like visit all the major spots too if you wanted to. So I'm not gonna really say like my recommendations. You know what? I will just say one thing. Go to Shibuya, Akihabara, and like Asakusa. But let me show it to you. Let me just talk about how insane Tokyo is, right? So I just said I'll go to Asakusa, Akihabara. So Akihabara is here, right? Okay, Akihabara is here, and then Asakusa. I said Asakusa is literally here, and that's like freaking 7 minutes away. And then I said like Shibuya. Shibuya is like here. That's like about 15 minutes away. Well, maybe 20. So it's possible to visit like literally everywhere, even on like in a day maybe. You gotta, if you want to speed run, you can do all of that. If you want to speed run, yes. If you want to speed run, then you can. But if you want to actually experience things, then maybe not. Maybe not. It's crazy that you can walk all those. Yeah, so that's what I do. That's what I do in like my streams. I freaking walk from like here to like this place and whatever. That's what I've been doing. You can just like do that in everywhere too, like even in Osaka. But if you are talking about like which place should I visit in Japan, that's a whole different problem, right? But in Tokyo, I mean, it's freaking tiny, and there you can kind of just do everything everywhere, right? But I'm gonna just talk about my recommendations again. Go to Akihabara, go to Asakusa, and just go to Shibuya. Those three places. The reason why I'm talking about these is because Akihabara's here, Asakusa's here, Shibuya's here, right? And if you go to Shibuya, then you'll go to like Shinjuku too, because it's not that far. And then if you are going to Shinjuku, you'll probably go to Harajuku because it's here. So. And Shimokitazawa, yeah, you'll probably go to Shimokitazawa too, like on the way. So I mean, yeah, like everything's like here. So it's that small. Japan's like that small, especially if you're talking about like Tokyo. But yeah, either way. And thank you so much for the donation. Sean, hi Sora-san, wondering what festival Japan celebrates year-round in Tokyo in July. Wishing to stream snipe you again. どうもありがとうございます。July, usually Natsumatsuri, summer festivals. Usually. I don't know though, because like there are freaking so many festivals in Japan, like regional festivals and this and that, but usually summer festivals. But I'm not really sure. I don't really go to festivals that much. But thank you so much for the donation either way. Fireworks too, yeah. 七夕 July, yeah, that too, yeah.
個人さんはかっこいいって思ってる方も日本はとっても多いと思います。それってすごい大きな偏見だなと思ったんですね。
As dating apps more and more common to find a partner in Japan, scams also on the rise, which is why she's concerned more and more women
I'm sorry, that was freaking hilarious. More Japanese women falling for international romance frauds.
be taken advantage of.
だからもう本当になんかそういう感覚とかをいろんな色だとしてもいい人もいるし悪い人もいるしで海外に行って英語で話せるようになってからはより強くそこを感じるようになったんですね。そういうところを
I think it's not just a thing in Japan. True that, yeah. Is there a nationality or culture that stands out in Japan, like Italian or Spanish or something? Korean. 100% Koreans are different from like any other like different like nationalities because K-pop is so huge here. Let me tell you why Koreans. In Tokyo, especially you go to Shibuya, you see a lot of hair salons literally named K-pop hair whatever. Korean hairstyles. Hangyu whatever. Like Hangyu is like the word we use, Korean basically. They like Koreans in Shibuya because like K-pop is so huge now. Romeo, thank you. Thanks for the educational lesson on your country. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for the donation. K-pop here. Yeah, that's so huge. That's so huge. The whole like Korean K-pop thing is like so huge now. So Koreans do stand out. Like especially if you go to Shibuya, you will notice how there are so many Korean related things. Like suddenly. Sheffield is saying K-pop took over the planet. Compared to what's happening in Japan, I think what's happening in America is nothing. From my experience, I went to like a lot of like different places in America too. You don't really see like a lot of K-pop related stuff like everywhere in Japan. And not say everywhere in Japan. Tokyo, yeah. It's insane. Like actually, you see a lot of like Korean this, Korean that, like Korean hair, Korean this. It's a thing now. So.
ていく一番いいことだなと思ってますね。
K-pop is just music, you know? It is, but you know like the whole like Korean thing, right? Koreans are much more open about their opinions and emotions. True, like Koreans are more American than Japanese people, but they are still like really close to Japanese people than Americans actually. Koreans kind of say their things too, but they have the same like respect culture there. And anyways, I'm gonna end the stream here. Because I've been streaming for like 1 hour and like 20 minutes. And let me just do this. Should I just do another membership stuff too? Yeah. Let me just read the comments for like 3 minutes and then I'm gonna do like another membership stream. Let me just take a shower though. And like, let me just play table tennis actually. How much did you gamble? I never gambled. So 3 minutes, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Another in real life stream, yeah. Like I want to go to Mount Fuji or something. Well, I want to just stream in Tokyo again. You know what? I want to just stream in Tokyo and like do stupid things. Membership stream. I've been doing membership streams freaking everywhere. I might do it later, like a short one. There's no way. メンバーライブ後でするかも。どうでしょうかな。Do you guys have like any ideas of like where to stream about? Should I just go to wait, should I go to another fuck park? At night? 後楽園。そうあった。行くか、後楽園してて行くか。行ってなかったね、そういやね。Again? Hot Springs. Yeah, Onsen Town sounds fire too. Public stream, maybe. What's an F park? Fuck park. People fuck. No more park. Fuck parks are fun though. The roads be okay there? Yeah. I gotta check everything. They still exist? Yeah. People do that in winter in parks. They do! Raffles, they do! Check Bakusai, they do. They do. They fuck everywhere. Still. Okinawa next year, any tips? Bring swimsuits. So again, nobody cares about who you are in Japan, really. And as long as like you're not causing trouble, like people are not gonna just suddenly treat you different. And especially if you're going to like those touristy places, yeah, nah, it's not gonna happen really. That's what I think from my experience. Because I have like my foreign cards too. I can be a foreigner actually if I wanted to be in Japan. I don't really think any people like suddenly changed. Yeah. So that's it for the stream though. And I'm gonna do another membership stream in probably 1 hour from now. Don't they become softer? They try to treat you like a child. That's the thing. Because like you're a foreigner, which means you don't know how things are in Japan. So they suddenly like kind of ask you if you can even use chopsticks and stuff. You sometimes feel like, oh, Japanese people are treating me as if I'm a child. I sometimes get that impression when I play my foreign card in Japan, which is freaking fire because I'm Japanese myself. But yeah. Anyways, I gotta go now. And I'm gonna do a membership stream probably like in 1 hour-ish. So I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.